And you're live. Oh, fuck.
Oh, I put us all in the together mode. We're all in a little park now.
Out of the stone steps. Oh.
Hello, hello.
Okay. So are we just jumping right in? Hello, everyone. So nice to see you all.
Yeah, it's really great to see everybody here.
Thank you for joining.
I think we should probably go around and introduce all of ourselves and maybe who we are and where we come from. I guess I will start. I'm May Gabbert. I work at Cloud9. I am the head of program development for the Cloud9 Training Grounds, which is our youth esports initiative.
Cool. And I'm Eunice. My name is Eunice Chen. I'm the founder of Enlight. And up until last year, I was working very closely with May and Nuki here at Cloud9 Esports, where I helped them build the org from the ground up, both operationally and strategically. So from all of our account management, sales, all of our marketing teams. And previous to that, I was at Riot Games building their events team strategy and managing all of their events. And I will certainly talk a lot more about Enlight today, later on in the panel.
My name is Nuki, also known as Izzy. I'm working for Cloud9 as well as May since about 3 years now. I'm general manager of the Overwatch division, and I am team manager for our female Valorant team.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kevin Hoang. I am the Scholastic program manager at Twitch. I work on the Twitch student program. Basically, I build stuff I wish I had in school. Yeah, thanks so much for having
me. Cool. So I love that we're all working in the same space and we all have the same missions and we're all aligned on really elevating the esports industry in different ways. So I'd really love for all of us to talk about how we're doing that through our work and our passion. And May, you started. I'd love to hear more about what you're doing with Training Grounds at Cloud9.
Yeah, so for Training Grounds, we are working on building youth esports and building sort of a framework for kids that are between 13 and 18 to get training and join a community of fellow gamers all across the nation who like to play games, who learn real life skills through games, and really establish this area of esports and gaming that doesn't exist yet. We're really excited for that. And specifically when it comes to jobs for that, we have to hire hundreds and hundreds of coaches this year to be those coaches and counselors for these esports camps.
Cool. Nuki, since you're also with Cloud9, it'd be awesome to hear what you're working with as well.
So my main focus on working with Cloud9 is currently their Overwatch division and their Overwatch League team. I'm currently building a system with the Overwatch League and the Academy team that we're having in that division to build a talent pipeline for Overwatch players to basically develop them to be promoted to the Overwatch League. So we are trying to build a cohesive system between our League team and the Academy team to develop players, develop staff, develop coaches from the ground up. And we're also not afraid to recruit younger players because Overwatch is of course a very low entry game. So the tier 2 division, the contenders division, where our academy team is stationed, begins with 13. That's the year that you can start competing in Overwatch. And it's really exciting because we can pick up players for long-term projects and help them develop and follow their passion to be like an esports player or like get other job in esports if they decide to like switch to team management or to coaching or things like that. We've developed like, I think, 4 coaches that were former players already, and they really love like the game and esports and love working there.
I'd love to, just a natural question that was popping up in my head as you were talking about that. What are the type of different roles that you really target other than, it sounds like it's just literally players and coaches? Does it also expand into analysts or, even potentially casting or data science or anything around the teams?
So around the teams, we mainly develop players, coaches, and then like analysts and data science also a tiny bit. We have worked with people that come from a data science background already, and that helped us develop systems for Hurricane and now also for like London Spitfire that we are implementing in our daily like reviews. Like one of our coaches had a data science background that we had this year, and he basically this whole year he was working with Hurricane. He developed a system that reads out bots and spits out data for our players to go by and how to help them improve and how to help the coaches like evaluate and read that data. So that's also really like exciting field that we can help like people develop that is in that many people might not know is in the team ops division,
That's awesome. Cool. Kevin, what are you doing with Twitch Student nowadays? And we'd love to hear about your initiatives.
Yeah, so Twitch Student, our org is kind of focused on a lot of the infrastructural stuff that's going on in like the Scholastic esports space. I think the last like 5 years it's becoming like it's gaming and esports is becoming like a forefront and priority in higher ed and in high schools as well, and it's trending down towards middle schools. And so my role is to kind of the last 5 years was to help schools understand gaming and esports primarily. So giving them as much information as possible as to what the industry means to us, like, and what the opportunity is for their campus and for their students. And the goal is to help them institutionalize gaming and esports, so that basically, like I said, I wish I had this stuff in school. So creating like gaming and esports programs, scholarships, and everything in between. So that's kind of more like the more businessy, kind of like school side. And then on the other side, I get to work with a lot of different scholarship programs. So we just kicked off our student creator program with the 1000 Dreams Fund. So we're providing streaming scholarships for women who are in school, in high school, and college to who have a passion for content creation. So like different pathways and that such. Also do things with our our university recruiting team to kind of help them line up engineering internship roles for working at Twitch full time in the summer. So it's got a lot of stuff that lets me like help push and move people more into this space. So yeah, it's been really cool to see the space kind of grow, where now I don't have to talk about what esports is anymore. When I talk to schools now, they're kind of like, hey, we already did like 2 years of study on this. We want to like get started on this now. That tone has changed significantly since since I first started, where I had to kind of like ask them to hear me out. So I think it's pretty cool. I think we've all done a good job in our part in trying to help evangelize for our space.
Yeah, it's definitely become a huge conversation. So there's just more and more work for all of you. This is amazing.
Yeah.
I'm the founder of Enlight. My name is Eunice, and I just launched Enlight a couple months ago, where I started with a free alpha program. And we have just come to January and launched our membership program. And what we are is we're an education space that teaches and trains people how to start in their esports career and how to succeed. So there are 3 different components. And the first component is our live and online sessions, where those are taught live by the best leaders in esports. And these are people like Rishi Chadha, who's the head of Twitter Gaming. There's Ujesh Desai, who is the head of Logitech Gaming and Astro. May actually spoke about career strategy as well. And these are just people that you get very close, intimate, deep conversations with, where they're diving into how they do their jobs, social media, partnerships, career strategy, community management, and more. So that's the first part, where you just get exclusive access to these people. And the second component that I really believe in is our community. And so that is the aspect where, learning together is very important, right? But it's also a lot easier when you have a support group working together as you're going through a career journey that's usually pretty tough and very chaotic. And the third part is our online portal. So a lot of our live lectures and our expert sessions come in, and you get direct Q&A access to them. You get to message them and ask your questions on the live stream. But after the stream, we actually cut them up and turn them into master classes, and we turn them into chapters. We add exercises, we add workbooks, and that actually becomes a course on the job and the career path that they're teaching. And you get access to that, indefinitely. So that's basically what Enlight is, and I would encourage you to check it out at enlight.gg if you're interested. So I've definitely been really fortunate that there's been so much interest, and one of the challenges that I faced, I'd love to talk more about this and hear from all of your perspectives as well. We got so much interest, but there are so many different people in different stages of the careers. So one of the challenges I faced was, how do we make this relevant to everyone, right? Like, how do we make this information relevant to beginners versus intermediates? And luckily, the feedback that we've gotten is, because we're getting the experts to talk about what they do, it inevitably really covers both the beginner aspects, because I really focus a lot of questions on the beginner paths and the career paths and the skills that are used. And it also goes into the more intermediate things about, going through what a player contract looks like and sort of the nuances you have to think about, and really intermediate things that you don't get or learn or hear about unless you're actually doing the job or talking to someone doing a deep dive for an hour on what they do day to day. So we've been very fortunate to be able to cover that. But it definitely was a challenge that we are trying to make better all the time. So I'd love to hear, if anyone else here would love to chime in about just the challenges you've faced in your programs as well. Do you want to go, May?
I was like, oh,
Yeah.
who's going first?
I will call on you, May.
No, it's okay. So yeah, I think for us, it's scale, and scaling is what for 2021, we're really looking at. We really see that there's so many kids out there that, younger than even, people in college or people that are, in that professional development train at 13 years old, they want to be in esports, and that's where they're starting. And, we have kids that sign up for camp to play League of Legends, but then halfway through their camp, they're like, I really just want to do broadcast. Can I help on the Twitch streams? And so there's so many kids that at the same time, want to get into this space, and figuring out how to sort of give them all the resources that exist out there, because they all have such varied interests. And it is pretty hard. And also leveling up that curriculum that we have for beginners and intermediate, is not a problem. It's it's a really interesting, it's an interesting opportunity to figure out what are the different pathways that people are learning in, what support that we need across the different interest fields, and also experience levels. But I think that the really, really great thing that we found is that everybody who's in these programs and is here is so passionate, and they really want to be a part of the process, and this we're all together and let's make it better together attitude that happens in esports a lot, which is really, really wonderful. That we've been able to lean on that to sort of really get iterative feedback and really listen to what people want, and these kids want and the parents want, so that we can create a really great program.
Yeah, that's awesome. Nuki, do you want to chime in on the challenges you've seen in your program?
Yeah, so in terms of team operations, one of the biggest challenges, in my opinion, is setting the expectations right for players and staff getting into the space, since it's more like a hands-on approach and not like a very top-down approach. Many are just, especially players, are just like, oh, I just want to play the game and that's it. And they don't really see all the challenges that come with it in terms of how do I approach my own development, like how do I approach training plans, wait, why do I need to do this interview? Like, why do I need to have like media presence? Why is it so important how I behave on social media and like the outside world? And so the main challenges is like setting those expectations for the players and especially also the coaches, because a thing like networking, especially if you want to branch into esports and if you want to like be a player and be valuable to organizations, is like a really, really big thing to have. And teaching them like how to network and how to be sociable, especially because many people or many kids use games to basically because they're shy or because they're like it's a passion that they really can't express like in their friend circle sometimes even, and try to be sociable or like social in these games is really hard for them to push to all of these like media asks, all of these like I'm visible now, like I'm like there's people following me, there's people like having interest in me, and not get nervous about it and not like and see how to handle like all this feedback, all this like interaction with people that they usually don't have that much, and that is like so free on the internet where basically everyone behaves like they want to be. It's really hard for them to cope sometimes, and so this is like some of the difficulties that they learn and that we have to learn how to help them cope with.
Yeah. How about yourself, Kevin? What are the challenges you face with your programs at Twitch Student?
Yeah, and so for context, my team is only 2 people that we're operating in about 20 countries of all these different types of initiatives. And from there, being at Twitch, I think we beat ourselves up using the word scale, like very heavily. We have like a really cool intention and motivation to go out and do this good in the world that we want to do. And I think a lot of us that want to get into the space want to like channel that energy into the programs like what you guys are doing. But how do you justify it to like, your bosses or bosses' bosses who might not see or might not see the day-to-day of what you're doing, but be able to convey that importance and be able to quantify and qualify all that stuff is probably like one of my biggest challenges into year and a half, because again, this is only about 5 years old what I'm doing with like the college esports program, so there's not much data and there's not much scale because we're all kind of building the plane we're flying in, kind of speak. And so that was really hard, and it's called like intrapreneurship, where like you're in a company but you're like in a startup in a company, so kind of having that shift. There's a lot of shifting and pacing where it's like, end of the year reporting, got to get our documents in to like, okay, college and high school is about to kick off in September, can we launch all this other stuff? So it's a bit of like battling across like 2 different fronts to be able to like push like that program forward. So I think that was like a bit of where you have to like, you need that like scrappiness that you get from like your initial like esports experience. I think keeping that at heart when you join like a corporate a company like Twitch, where now it's like 1,500 employees, there's hundreds of different teams, kind of moving like this giant ship. And so being able to balance between the both was like my difficulty when you're trying to join like a smaller team inside like this big organization.
I love when you said that you were building it as the plane was flying. All of us were just like, oh, I know what that means.
yeah, we've all been there. So I think it's being able to do that in any role is in being agile and always working within your means. Because of course, like if I had like all these extra resources, I could obviously provide more, but it's not how reality works sometimes. So you just kind of have to kind of make do with what you have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously, I mean, there are always challenges no matter what company you work at, whether it's a startup or not, but I'd love to hear how everyone's programs actually feel like they're unique. Like, what sets your program apart? What sets your solution apart from others that are out there? And sort of what's the vision and the problem that you're solving after we've learned from these challenges? So May, I'd love to hear what you think is super strong about Training Grounds that sets it apart from everything else.
Yeah, for us, it's just our focus on these coaches being really mentors to these students. I think that a lot of people have an experience or a memory in their past where there was like a teacher or a camp counselor or an adult who showed investment in you and your personal skills, your development skills, and who like you looked up to, right? The teacher that made you want to be a teacher when you were 8 or whatever it is, and those moments really stick with us. And I think that when it comes to having a growth mindset for kids, surrounding them with people that also have those growth mindsets is really important and are really invest in their development. When we do our coaches, the thing that we always hear from the kids and the parents is how much the coaches meant to the kids and how that was really what made their experience. So really trying to take what's important to the Cloud9 brand and what we hold dear to us, which is, you know, giving people opportunities and the toolkit to really have excel in whatever they want to do in life. And making that really a core of what Training Grounds is about, and having those values that you really, really stick to, and really imbuing your entire program with that.
How about yourself, Nikki? What do you think the program has done really well?
I think what we've done really well with the Academy program for Overwatch is that we have helped not only like promote players to the bigger leagues, but also promote a ton of staff. Like I think three of our coaches like had offers for the Overwatch League or are in the Overwatch League right now, working with like teams that gone through our academy team and our academy system. So we're really happy to not only have a pipeline for players to learn the certain skills to play like in the bigger leagues and make a career out of their gaming, but also for coaches and for like analysts and different like kinds of staff to have a pipeline for them too, because often in like lower tier team ops systems, be it academy or like tier 2 leagues, challenger leagues, whatever it's called in different games, those are usually the people that are really undervalued and that help develop these players and that get like way too less credit for doing so. So we're really happy to take chances on people there, and we're really happy to push them forward too and basically put them in the spotlight.
Kevin, what about at Twitch Student? What do you think has been done particularly well that sets it apart?
Honestly, being able to work in different parts of the world, I think made this program like really special, and just taking that insight from all the stuff we've been able to see and kind of giving that information over to different stakeholders, like being able to give people that insight and letting them think beyond like their school, their city, their state, their country has been really exciting. So like some projects that was like really fun to do was like our university esports masters, which is like 15 I think it was 15 teams from 15 different countries in Europe flying over to Tenerife, Spain, which is like off like the northern coast of Africa, competing at like the dream hack of Spain. So that was like pretty cool to kind of give students that kind of experience, and then from there, kind of being able to merge that with like China's like international championships. So the winners of that got to meet players from all around the world and compete in China. As like a small example of like what that piece of tournament could mean for these students. For schools, I think being able to give away our knowledge and our relationships and our network entirely for free over the last 5 years, I think we've been very diligent in making sure that that there shouldn't be a paywall in order to gain information about college esports. I think that has allow newer schools to catch up a lot faster instead of kind of left in the dust and trying to like figure out everything in Google and like cold email things. And we're trying to like remove as much of that barrier as possible so that these schools can level up as fast as possible. So those things I think are like the little details that makes the work that makes it so I'm like proud of the work that we're doing over the last 5 years. I never really said that out loud because it's been a blur and it's been like 5 years. But yeah, I think that I didn't really have the time to reflect on that question. But those are the two that came to the top of my head.
You guys have great resources too. Like the resources that you guys share and develop are like super informational and are really helpful. So you've done a great job at it.
Thank you.
Yeah, you should be really proud of yourself. It's been an amazing 5 years of seeing the whole collegiate space grow, and Twitch Student and your work has been a big part of that. So be proud of it.
Thank you. Yeah, I just don't think about that stuff. But yeah, thank you.
Well, that's really interesting. So a part of what I like to inject into Enlight is really a life philosophy and a career philosophy outside of just trying to apply for a job and getting a job, right? So for me, I've been through enough roles and companies where being happy in life is such a big integration with being happy at your job that for me, when we talk about career strategy at Enlight, like my philosophy is that career strategy includes your personal happiness. It's not just like whether you get a job or not, that doesn't validate you or define you as a person. It's really how happy you are. Like success is defined by yourself and yourself only, not by society, not by who gives you that job, not by who signs your check, not by your parents. Like it's only you can do that. And no one can take that away from you. So that's really important to me. And I've learned that the hard way. So I'm hoping that, from my sort of sharing this kind of knowledge and my journey, that everyone else, younger than me, hopefully can learn that the easier way. And so that's something I'm really proud of at Enlight. And, that's certainly my philosophy that's separate from my philosophy and how we teach career strategy, but that's separate from even the content itself, right? Like I mentioned earlier, it's really a lot of exclusive people that I bring in to speak to you directly and speak to our members at Enlight. And these are people that you just don't get direct access to most of the time. And furthermore, we turn that into an online course. So you literally, as a member, have a portal into esports career training and learning about different areas of esports that does not exist in any university that I know of, at least to this level and to the kinds of people and speakers that we're bringing in. And the community is definitely a big part of that. I would say our community is focused on careers and we do have like fun events and community events, but the career strategy and the career happiness is the huge part and the huge focus of the community. And so all of that combined is really my pride in bringing Enlight to this space. So I'd love to hear more about, your experiences as well. I've certainly had a lot of experience mentoring students and a lot of young people, a lot of people who are watching this panel. So I'd love to hear your opinions on, and from your experience, what are the biggest things that students are underprepared for or lacking in this industry? And what is the one thing that they're doing well? And May, I'd love to hear your answer to that.
Yeah, so having been someone that was personally mentored by Eunice, she's a wonderful mentor, and she passed along a lot of skills by just the way that she interacted with people when we talked to developers, when we talked to, when we were planning events. I really took the opportunity to watch how she talked to people, the way that she talked to people, the way that she did business, and the way that she got what she wanted. And I learned all those skills, and that was really important for me because that's where I felt like I was lacking. I think that it's really helpful in esports to have a little bit of business knowledge because it's going to serve you really well. And as esports gets more corporate-y, it's just like those skill sets are really needed. I think a lot of people come in and don't necessarily know how to do things like email etiquette or calendar etiquette or messenger etiquette. And to be really organized, you want to make sure that when it comes to materials, that you always come prepared for meetings. People who are unorganized, I think, stick out and make it really, and people want to work with them less because they have to carry those people along. So I think that being organized and really observing the people that are your mentors and that you're working with for professional skills are super important.
Awesome. Thank you for the kind words. Nuki, I'd love to hear what you think the biggest things that students are underprepared for, and what is the one thing that new professionals are doing well right now?
One thing from the player/team operations side that I think some of the kids or like students, whatever you want to call it, are underprepared for is definitely, as I mentioned earlier, like social media attention and how to handle like interacting with different kinds of people. And then there's also like how they prepare themselves and how they go about like self-awareness and like self-development, because many have a really like lax approach about identifying their own weaknesses, and they think that that coaches are only there for like telling them instead of like critically thinking themselves. So if you want to have a career in at least like as a player or like as in team ops in general, it's really important to be like organized and to be self-aware where your weaknesses are, and like being able to ask for help in those areas with your like superiors, with your managers, with your resources in whatever field you are.
Cool. Yeah, for myself, I see a lot of that. You know, I think people are underprepared, and college students are underprepared for actual business skills that you just don't learn in college. And most of the time you learn that in your first job. But esports is not a very kind industry to learning new business skills, just because there's so much to be done, especially in your first job. It's just so chaotic and so much to do. And so there's a lack of structure that I hope we can all work with our programs to bring to the esports industry. And yeah, it's, you know, I think what students are doing well is that there are so many communities and so many people that are hustling and taking initiative and navigating their way through these kinds of rough waters. So I'm really, really proud to see all of that. Yeah, and it's really awesome to be able to hear all of your stories today. And I just really love to see how the industry is going to grow in the next 5 years. All right. Well, I think we have a resume review that's being set up right now as we speak. And this will be really exciting because I think the first one, I don't know who the first resume is that we have. Alex, I believe.
So it looks like the objective. So the objective's right at the top.
Okay.
Which is nice to know, so we know what it is. It's to
Great.
obtain a position as a community manager within your organization. So I think that like there's a few things when it comes to resumes. There's obviously it's like content and format, right? I think are like the two big categories. So what do we think for format, first of all? I think that's like the easiest one to sort of call out.
Okay.
Well, Eunice, initial thoughts?
I
have it open.
I don't have it open.
Okay.
Let's see.
I'll go first. I mean, nothing super jumps out as being bad on this one. It's a lot of text, but I mean, it just depending on what the job is and what your experience is, that's going to be the case. I don't downgrade personally. Like, I don't downgrade a resume if it doesn't have like the bells and whistles that other resumes have. How does anyone else feel about that?
Yeah, I personally don't mind like heavy text resumes. I do like catchy one-pagers. I definitely do. Like, I have an easier time reading those as a non-native speaker. But I think it's really well structured. Like, I like the experience, education, and then like additional information structure. I think it's really easy to read.
Yeah, if you can trim this down to one page, I think it'll definitely. So everyone is gonna have like, you don't have to list like every single like for down at page 2. You mentioned you don't have to like include Durham College in every header as an example, and you might want to remove certifications if it's not relevant to the jobs you're applying to, and then for overall, you want to kind of bold maybe the positions so it's easier and more like so people can like break down your positions, because right now it just looks like a ball of like experience, but you want to like chop it up so that people can see your progression, especially when it's like the date and the time, because I want to like I think it's important to see like continuity in your experiences. I haven't read like the actual like wording of it, but this is more like a formatting issue, and it seems like you're looking for a community manager position, so kind of tailor your resume to that and not make it like a like here's everything I've done.
Yeah, definitely agree to that. Cutting it down makes it also easier for people who hire you to like get the information that they need more quickly and have like a more positive outlook on that information.
I would agree that I think it needs to be one page for sure. Not I think, I know it has to be one page for sure. So Alex, I would totally fit everything into one page. You can even expand the text so you're filling the whole width instead of, losing an inch off the left side. Make sure your different experience blocks are consistent in the formatting. So on the last one, you put program coordinator, but the first 3, I don't really know what your role was. I think you talk about it, but like just off the bat, I'm not able to tell what you did for these companies. So make sure you keep that. I don't know. I mean, and for the first one, for example, like work study student, that makes sense. But what did you, I guess, put a better title that represents what you did at the esports arena? And sure, like you were a work study student, but what was your actual job title in that sense? And
I think some of the experience stuff is a little bit repetitive too. Like I think you could combine some of them to be like one bullet point instead of 2, looking at the senior center part, just so you can get like, it looks like there's like a lot of event experience in here, which is great for community management. So community management is a lot of that, but also try and find or adjust one of these experiences to also include sort of like the other parts of community management, whether that's like social or marketing, or any sort of like data based on, the people that you're serving with your programs. And that'll be really helpful.
Yeah, just to add to that, so I think you, because it's like you need to show that you've produced and created events. I think you can then combine that to say like created, X event per year as or X events in that timeline that you were in, and then because you got your foot in the door with like the Durham College Esports Arena, so like something stood out to Durham College to pick you up as like that esports. I'm sure that was a very competitive role, but you managed to get it, and so I will try to focus more on that, and give that more. I know it's only been a few months since you started there, but as time goes on and as you continue with this position, keep adding to that and kind of focus on impact in your resume. I think a lot of what your resume says right now is what you are doing or what things you're obligated to do because of that role. But I wanted to see that entrepreneur in those roles where you were like tasked to start things or not even start things, but took lead in like those projects that the school depended on you for, and how you're able to go from A to B with that. Right now, it just seems like it's very like you're kind of like doing this maintaining or ongoing like hand holding people through things, but it didn't seem like. I just want to see more of that creativeness that you want to show.
Okay, thank you everyone. This is great. Thank you, Alex, for submitting this. We're going to jump to the next one. It is John Vayani. And this is amazing, John. My resume looks exactly like this, like literally. I mean, I haven't used my resume in years, but it looks exactly like this. And I also went to University of Penn. So I don't know. I don't remember where I got this. I think it's just a template that everyone at Penn used. So that's why mine look exactly like this. So I have no comments on the format. I personally love the format, but I would love to hear what everyone else says.
Yeah, agree. I think this is a really solid format. It's broken down into all the sections that you need. It has all the information that you want, and it looks really clean, which is important.
Yeah, I really like that it's a one-pager. I'm really a big fan of one-pagers, as I said earlier, and it's really well structured. I can read the points and like the sub-points very well, and I really like the phrasing on most of what I read here. It explains everything. Like information is laid out really nicely, and everything is explained in short sentences, which makes it really easy to understand for me.
Yeah, so words like showing that you're handling like 100 deals a week, like having that kind of frequency and that uptime on that is really impressive. And then using words like liaison between Zinli clients and the SEC is knowing that shows that you're able to like work with different parties and different stakeholders. That's really cool. And I'm sure like that's not easy to do, being the project assistant and paralegal. Like that seems like it's a lot of attention to detail, and so being able to like show that, I was able to see that through your first two lines already.
Yeah, I think maybe the one thing that's not, I mean, this is a really good general resume to start out with, and I'm assuming, but if I'm assuming wrong, I think a good tip for everyone is to just make sure that you tailor your resume to what you're actually applying for. So this would be a good general resume, but if it were being applied to, let's say, I don't know, team management, that would probably work. Maybe a few words could be tweaked, but if you're applying to, let's say, community management, this probably would not align so quickly. Like for me, it would take me a while to understand how your skill sets, which is a really good skill set and you're laying it out well, but I have to understand how your skill set is going to apply to the role that you're applying for. So making sure that, if you do have these non-endemic skill sets that have a lot of transferable skills, try to tailor and tweak those bullet points so that it applies to that specific skill set that the hiring manager is looking for. So for example, let's say you're doing, I don't know, maybe you're using this to apply for social media, just totally opposite of what you've been doing, right? You could certainly make sure that you highlight a lot of your, highlight a lot of what you do in terms of operations to apply to social media. Like you were able to keep things on time, which you do here. You had a little bit of like graphical insight with your Olympics role, so you could also somehow apply that to social media, and that could also come through in your cover letter. So I think, just being able to put in the work when you're applying to roles that are important to you is really important.
So I think that one of the things we should look at here is going in esports. If you got this, is there enough esports or gaming in this resume to show, or not enough that it would hold someone back from a job?
Yeah, I like at the bottom that you put esports as an interest, but maybe a little bit more about esports, like what specific esport, what game, what tournaments do you follow? That would be really helpful. So especially if your work, let's say you're applying to Cloud9, for example, right? And you were interested in some team that they didn't have, like Call of Duty, then it would be less applicable than let's say if you said League of Legends or Fortnite or whatnot. So I think expanding upon the gaming and esports interest is probably helpful. Unless you have that in your cover letter, that's also great.
Especially or try to get some experience if you don't have any, even if it's just like a mod of a Discord server or anything. I think that shows more than just like, I like esports. Also capital S, I think, is a big turnoff for a lot of people in esports, honestly. I don't like seeing a capital S. It's like it's a maybe for me.
Trigger word.
Yeah, it is. Maybe that's like a really closed mindset, but I totally have that reaction to the capital S. So yeah, that's I would say there. But yeah, and try to something on there that's more than just like esports. I think for me, is something that I would need, even if it's something the tiniest thing. Like if you're just like I am on a Discord server and it's 20 people, but we talk about gaming all the time. That is enough for me to show that it's more than just somebody who's not in esports who wants to get into esports because they think it's the cool field.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, John, for submitting that. We have one more resume to go through, and Christian Mori, we are looking at your resume now. On initial thought, I love all the information, and I know it's super game related, which looks amazing on first glance. I think the layout could be done better because it's 2 columns, so it's really hard to read like up and down and then left and right. Like I don't know how it's sort of formatted. So I would keep it 1 column on initial glance.
I really do like the 2 columns, I have to say. Like I do like the more like text-based information on the right side and the more like listed information on the left side. The only thing to criticize here is a tiny bit of the format, because like in between page 1 and 2, like the text shifts from right to left side, if you know what I mean. But it's a really good eye catcher. I really like that it's like a bit colorful. I like the logo on there. It's definitely catchy, and it's listed pretty well. A tiny thing that doesn't jump to my eye like right away is the job that is applied for, or that it's like sent out for.
I think it's like a player resume.
It's a player resume.
I think that player resumes are something that you can do like differently than typical resumes. I think decks actually are better for player resumes, like slideshow decks. Same as like you can do that if you are somebody who like graphics or like video editor based. You could do more like deck resume. I think that is actually, you're seeing that a lot more. And when it comes into emails, if you're going to get like a cold email, I'd rather look at a deck for those types of things. So maybe that is, maybe that's an option for this. I think, I don't know how many, I used to see a lot of player resumes when I did operations, but I don't see them anymore. And Nuki, you may be the expert on that one.
Yeah, definitely. Like for a player resume, it's definitely something you can send out to like a team that you're applying to. It's really good that you listed like past organizations you were with. Like it's all the info that is on here is really easily digestible, and it's something like I, as a general manager, can just like look at and just click the links and see like what. Even like the part with what interviews you did, and like you linking the interviews, like media work you did, is really, really helpful. Especially because like we do more and more media training with our players from like an early age. The ranks is really nicely listed. You listed your social media, which is super important for many orgs that you apply to, because a good reach definitely helps them too, and helps like to support you. And overall, I would say like this is a resume as a general manager that would interest me, like that I would like to know more about, and that I would invite. As I said, tiny formatting issues with the text. You could talk a tiny bit more, like since you talked about what type of teammates do I want, you can also talk a tiny bit more about like what can I give to the team more, or like what teammate am I? But other than that, really solid information on there. I do like it.
Yeah, I actually missed the part that it was for a player, so I take back my initial statement about the format. I do think there is a lot more room for creativity, and this looks really great. Like it has all the right information, like you all mentioned. So awesome.
Yeah.
Kevin, do you have any thoughts on it, or?
I think right now, my only thoughts are maybe yeah, I think the 2-column is more unusual for me. But if it's something standard in player communities, then yeah, then great. I think having all your media and appearances is great too. I think I'm very curious about the Discord you created. I think you said at the bottom of your Why Me, it's the created a Discord with tens of thousands of members. So I'd like to see what that is, since you've already highlighted your other social media. I think Discord should also be another place where you can show that you're a brand building. I think that is also valuable for teams, knowing that you can create and manage your community that revolves around you. So yeah, I just want more context there. I think if it was more traditional, like one-pager layout, I think having your achievements in one spot in like a line, and then your appearances and like your past organizations, I think that'd be easier to read if you want to just try out different formats.
Cool.
That's
Thank you so much.
Oh, sorry. I was just saying that's good feedback from Kevin, though, is like, it's not a bad idea to have multiple formats of your resume, like depending on if it's like a more startup-y fun company, to send a resume that's more, like artistic and has like the little like bubbles that say like my leadership out of 5 stars, and it's like filled in. It's not a bad idea to just have multiple formats of your resume, just like depending on who you're turning it into, and to base sort of like which version you send on that.
Might be cool to just build a website with all your media stuff on there, through like a Squarespace or something, and just host all that stuff there, so that hey, you can check out my website for, my YouTube channel to my TikTok, or even like those. Yeah, just a way, maybe that's your suggestions, because you're gonna keep killing it, and you're gonna have more appearances and stuff, so can't fit that all on a resume. But nowadays it's normal to have like your portfolio online.
Yeah, especially if you're working in the creative field and want to go into like social media, into like content or whatever, like video editing. It's always good to have something like that on hand to either put on your resume or like include in an email asset and show it off.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're open for questions now, and feel free to ask us anything and we'll answer as much as we can. I know there was one question that came in already about creative-based resumes, so videos and art, for example, and if they should include a link to the portfolio. And yes, absolutely. That's my perspective, that if you're being hired for something creative, it's such a subjective kind of matter, like you can't put a dollar amount on it, right? So it's much easier to just visually see what you're visually creating. And so I like the idea of having a website. You can just put all your portfolio things in there. Maybe it's a PDF if it's like an online submission, but I think a website is also interactive, which could be really great, or a deck. I think if you're in a visual field or creative field, you could just do whatever you want. Like that shows your creativity as well, right?
It does. It definitely does.
And since somebody's mentioning it in the chat, when we had our internship program at Cloud9 this last year, we did have somebody applying via video, via very creative video that he sent in, like on why we should hire him and how like hilarious he was doing it and why he's so good at social media and memes and like internet culture, and it definitely landed him the job. So feel free to like go out of your way and like show your passion for a certain kind of thing or for like the thing that you want to apply for, and like have any creative outlet for it that you want to. Like even if it's just short videos, if it's like meme clips, if it's like you photoshopping the whole companies on like a photo or something.
Yeah,
that's really nice.
Helps, especially for those. So yeah, if you it's going to be a more creative field, then feel free to be creative. Any other questions? Which esports org was it that made, this is probably not a question, but which org was it that hired a guy who made a meme about them to apply? 100 Thieves did that also, right? And then I think, yeah.
The guy did ratio luminosity. Is that a meme? Is Albert a meme?
As someone who's currently casting, what should we include in Twitch clips?
Okay, we're back. I don't know where it ended, but we were reading the question about, at what point is it enough if someone puts together a resume, website, including all your things, and if they do everything right, will they guarantee themselves a space in the esports industry? And I would say guarantee is such a hard word to use, but there are certainly steps that you can take to put yourself in the right position, right? I would say most things in life are being in the right place at the right time and having the right perspective, which is the most important, because you could be in the right space at the right time and you just don't have the right perspective to either be offered the job or to accept the job or to be recommended for the job or whatever it is. I think perspective is such a huge part of it, because you can do everything right, but if you're not in the right place, or you don't network with the right people, or they just don't recommend you over whatever, or you had a bad day and messed up your interview that day or whatever, like there's just so many things that could go wrong, and it's all human, right? And so I would say it's you can do all the right things, but your perspective is also super important. But it's also how you handle that rejection or that loss of that opportunity, right? Do you just give up, or do you get up and keep going and keep trying? Because that's what's going to determine what your industry career looks like. And I'm sure a lot of you others here on the panel have also seen that.
Oh, may you mute it?
Yeah, definitely. I think that that's really, really good advice. That it is sometimes down to it's what you make of the opportunities that you get. But I think that if you're doing all those things, you're taking a lot of steps. You're putting yourself out there, and if you're using all those opportunities to build things, which I know who the question comes from, and so you are doing those things. So yeah, it raises your chances, and I think that. Having follow through and doing and not just like saying I'm doing everything, but actually doing it really does make a difference. Okay. I think that we're at the end of this. So does everybody, why don't we go through the list and everyone say what you're working on, and what you want, anyone's sort of last thoughts from you before we end this panel. Eunice, why don't you start?
Okay, so go to enlight.gg. It has everything you need to know, and you get time with me, and I would love to help you on your career.
Nuki.
Yeah, shout out to everyone in Team Ops, and if you want to be a player, if you want to be a coach, pursue your dream and go for it.
Kevin.
Yes, I want to say go to enlight.gg as well. I mean, this is if you want more of this type of content and to kind of get more in the grounds and the weed of everything, you should definitely seek out more information at enlight.gg.
Nice.
Oh, wow. Thanks, Kevin.
And if you're interested in training grounds or have, cousins or younger siblings that are interested, check out c9traininggrounds.com for everything that we're doing over there. Thanks everybody for coming to this panel and submitting your resumes for us to review. It was really wonderful, and stick around for the next panel, and everybody have a really great and educational weekend.